The planet was dying. Yuna could see it through the window of her helmet. Orange fire split the black sky. Mountains fell into rivers of melting rock. The ground shook every few minutes, and each time it felt like the whole world was screaming. She walked through the ash with careful steps. Her boots left deep prints in the gray dust. Behind her, the rescue shuttle waited with its engines still running. The pilot had given her 20 minutes. That was all the time she had before the next wave of earthquakes would make landing impossible. Yuna, what is your status? The voice in her earpiece belonged to Taehyun. He was watching her from the ship above, tracking her movement through the planet's dying atmosphere. I am in the Predator territory now, she answered. The den should be close. You know this is pointless, he said. His voice was gentle, not angry. The Vorath are gone. Every scanner confirms it. There is nothing alive down there. Yuna did not answer. She kept walking. The Vorath were legends. Every child in the galaxy knew stories about them. They were the perfect predators. 6 legs, black scales harder than ship armor, teeth that could cut through metal. They hunted in darkness and killed without sound. For 1,000 years, they ruled this planet. Nothing could stop them. Nothing could tame them. Every species that tried to capture one lost soldiers. Every scientist that tried to study them died. Now their world was burning, and they were burning with it. Yuna reached the den. It was a cave made of collapsed rocks and bent metal from some ancient structure. The entrance was narrow, barely wide enough for her to fit through. She turned on her helmet light and crawled inside. The smell hit her first. Death. Old blood. Burned fur. She wanted to turn back, but she forced herself to keep moving. The tunnel opened into a larger space. Her light swept across the darkness and found what she was looking for. A Vorath. Dead. Its massive body lay against the far wall. Scales cracked and burned. It must have been female, based on the size. She had died, protecting something. Her body was curled around a small space in the rocks, shielding it from the falling debris. Yuna moved closer. Her heart was beating fast. She knew she should leave. The ground was shaking again. Time was running out, but then she heard it. A small sound, weak, afraid. She pushed past the dead mother's body and looked into the protected space. A cub. A Vorath cub, no bigger than a small dog. Its scales were not yet hard. Its eyes were closed. It was shaking, pressing itself against the cold rock, waiting for a death that had not come yet. Oh, Yuna whispered. Oh, you poor thing. She reached out her hand. The cub flinched. A tiny growl came from its throat, but there was no strength behind it. This creature was starving, dying. Alone. Yuna did not think. She took off her thermal jacket and wrapped it around the cub. The creature struggled for a moment, then went still. It was too weak to fight, too tired to run. I have you, Yuna said softly. I have you now. She carried the cub back through the tunnel. The ground shook harder. Rocks fell around her. She ran, holding the small predator against her chest, feeling its weak heartbeat through the jacket. The shuttle lifted off just as the mountain behind them exploded. Fire filled the sky where Yuna had been standing moments before. On the ship, Commander Resk was waiting. He was Velthari, a species known for their military strength. His gray skin and sharp eyes showed no emotion as Yuna stepped off the shuttle with the bundle in her arms. What is that? He asked. A survivor, Yuna said. Resk looked at the cub. His expression did not change, but something cold entered his voice. That is a Vorath. You brought a Vorath onto my ship. She is just a baby. She will die without help. It will die anyway, and if it does not die, it will kill you. Then, it will kill everyone else. Resk stepped closer. Humans have a reputation. Scientist. They say you bond with anything. They say you cannot help yourselves. But this is not a lost pet. This is a monster. Yuna held the cub tighter. She is a child. It is a predator. And predators do not change. From behind them, a smooth voice spoke. How fascinating. Ambassador Holland walked forward. He was Trivex, tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors when he spoke. His kind considered themselves the most civilized species in the galaxy. They looked down on everyone, but they looked down on humans most of all. The human thinks she can raise a Vorath, Holland said. He was smiling, but it was not a kind smile. Tell me, Commander, have you ever heard anything so amusing? It is not amusing, Resk said. It is dangerous. It is both. Halun turned to Yuna. I have studied your species for many years. You are soft, emotional. You form attachments to things that will never love you back. It is your greatest weakness. He looked at the cub in her arms. This thing will grow. It will become strong. And the moment it is strong enough, it will tear out your throat. That is what Vorath do. That is what they are. Yuna met his eyes. You do not know what she can become. Holland laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. I know exactly what it will become. The question is, whether you will still be alive to see it. He walked away, still laughing. Resk shook his head. Do not say I did not warn you, human. He followed the ambassador, leaving Yuna alone in the shuttle bay. She looked down at the cub. Its eyes were still closed. Its breathing was shallow. It might die tonight. It might die tomorrow. Every fact, every piece of science, every warning said that this creature could never be saved. Yuna held her closer. They do not know you, she whispered. They do not know us. She carried the cub to her quarters and did not look back. The cub would not eat. Yuna tried everything. She brought synthetic protein from the ship's food systems. She mixed different nutrients together. She warmed the food. She cooled it. She put it in different containers. Nothing worked. For 3 days, the cub lay in the corner of the containment unit, shaking and weak. Her eyes opened sometimes, showing dark pupils that held no trust, no hope. She watched Yuna with the look of a creature waiting to die. The ship's doctor, a being with 4 arms and blue skin, came on the 4th day. He scanned the cub and shook his head. Her organs are failing, he said. She has maybe 2 days left. Perhaps 3. There must be something we can do, Yuna said. There is nothing. Vorath biology requires specific conditions. We do not have those conditions. We do not even know what those conditions are. He put away his scanner. I am sorry, human. You tried, but some things cannot be saved. He left. Yuna sat on the floor of the containment unit and looked at the dying cub. The creature was so small, so afraid. She had survived the death of her world only to die slowly in a cold metal room, surrounded by strangers who saw her as a monster. I will not let you die alone, Yuna said. That night, she brought her blankets into the containment unit. She lay down on the hard floor, just a few feet from the cub. The creature watched her with suspicious eyes. It is okay, Yuna said softly. I am not going to hurt you. I am just going to stay here. She closed her eyes and let her breathing become slow and steady. Hours passed. Yuna did not sleep, but she kept still. She let the room fill with the sound of her heartbeat, the rhythm of her breath. She let the cub learn her smell, her presence, her warmth. Near morning, she felt something move. A small weight pressed against her side. The cub had crawled closer, not touching her, but near, close enough to feel her body heat. Yuna did not move. She did not open her eyes. She just let it happen. The next night, the cub was closer still. On the 3rd night, Yuna woke to find the small creature pressed against her chest, its head tucked under her chin. Its breathing was still weak, but something had changed. The shaking had stopped. The cub was calm. Good girl, Yuna whispered. Good girl. In the morning, she tried feeding the cub again. She squeezed nutrient paste onto her finger and held it near the creature's mouth. The cub sniffed, hesitated. Then, slowly, she licked the paste from Yuna's skin. It was not much, just a small taste. But it was enough. Taehyun found Yuna in the observation deck later that day. She was smiling for the first time in weeks. She ate, Yuna said. Just a little, but she ate. Taehyun sat down beside her. The whole ship is talking about you. They say you have lost your mind. Maybe I have. Commander Resk wants to put the creature in deep freeze. He says it is too dangerous to keep alive. Yuna's smile faded. She is not dangerous. She is scared. She is a Vorath, Yuna. Her species has killed thousands. Maybe millions. Every scientist who tried to study them ended up dead. Those scientists kept them in cages. They treated them like specimens. Yuna looked at her friend. I am treating her like family. Taehyun was quiet for a long moment. And if she turns on you? If the commander is right, then I will be wrong. But I do not think I am wrong, Taehyun. I think everyone else has been wrong about them all along. Days turned into weeks. The cub grew stronger. She followed Yuna everywhere, walking behind her with careful steps, watching everything with intelligent eyes. Yuna named her Kira, a word that meant nothing in any alien language. It was just a name, a simple name for a creature that everyone said could never be tamed. Kira learned quickly. She learned to come when Yuna called. She learned to sit when Yuna raised her hand. She learned to stay calm when other crew members walked past, even though their fear filled the air like smoke, but she would not let anyone else touch her. When Commander Resk approached, she growled. When Ambassador Holland came near, she bared her teeth. She trusted only Yuna, only the human who had slept beside her in the darkness and refused to let her die. One night, Taehyun watched from the observation window as Yuna sat in the containment unit, with Kira's head resting on her lap. The creature was almost as big as a large dog now. Her scales were hardening, her muscles were growing. She could probably kill someone if she wanted to. Instead, she was sleeping peacefully while Yuna stroked her head. What are you doing? Taehyun asked through the speaker. What is your plan here? Yuna looked up at him. I do not have a plan. Then what is this? This is what humans do, Taehyun. We do not abandon our young. And right now, she is mine. Taehyun shook his head. She is not human, Yuna. She is not your child. She is a Vorath. Yes, and she is also mine. Both things are true. He had no answer for that. In the weeks that followed, something amazing happened. Kira did not just survive. She thrived. Her body grew strong. Her eyes became sharp. Her movements became fast and powerful. She was becoming everything a Vorath was meant to become, but something else was growing too. Something that should not have been possible. When Yuna was sad, Kira pressed against her side and made low, soft sounds. When Yuna was tired, Kira guided her to her bed and lay down beside her. When Yuna was scared, Kira stood between her and whatever had frightened her, ready to protect. The monster that everyone feared was becoming something new, something the galaxy had never seen. Ambassador Holland stopped laughing. Commander Resk stopped talking about deep freeze. The whole ship watched in silence as the impossible became real. A Vorath was learning to love. 6 months had passed since the dying planet. Kira was no longer a cub. She stood as tall as Yuna's shoulder now. Her black scales shone like polished metal under the ship's lights. Her 6 legs moved with perfect grace. Silent even on the metal floors, her claws could cut through steel. Her teeth could crush bone. She was everything a Vorath was meant to be. And she followed Yuna everywhere like a shadow. The crew had learned to accept it. They stepped aside when Yuna walked through the corridors with Kira at her side. They did not run anymore. They did not scream. But they still watched with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. The ship's scientists ran tests every week. They scanned Kira's brain. They measured her hormones. They studied her behavior patterns. The results made no sense. Her aggression levels are almost 0, the lead scientist reported at a meeting. Vorath at her age should be extremely violent. They should attack anything that moves. But she is calm, controlled, almost gentle. That is impossible, Commander Resk said. I know. But the data does not lie. Then explain it. The scientist looked at Yuna, who sat quietly in the corner with Kira lying at her feet. "I cannot explain it, Commander. All I can tell you is what I see. This Vorath is different. She has formed a bond with the human that goes beyond anything in our records. Her neural pathways have developed in ways we have never observed. It is as if her brain rewired itself to match the human's emotional patterns." Ambassador Holland leaned forward. "Are you saying the human changed the creature?" "I am saying the creature changed herself. For the human." The scientist paused. "Vorath are apex predators. They have no need for social bonds. They do not form families. They do not protect each other. But this one has learned to do all of those things because the human showed her how." The room was silent. Yuna did not speak. She just kept her hand on Kira's head, feeling the warmth of the scales under her palm. Commander Resk stood up. "I want a demonstration. I need to see this for myself." 1 hour later, the cargo bay was filled with soldiers. They stood in rows along the walls, weapons ready, watching the center of the room where Yuna stood alone with Kira. Resk watched from the control room above. "Release the combat drone." "Release the combat drone." A metal sphere flew out from a wall panel. It hovered in the air, scanning the room with red sensors. This was standard military equipment, used to train soldiers in combat reflexes. It was fast. It was accurate. It was designed to test responses to danger. Kira watched it but did not move. "Attack mode," Resk commanded. The drone shot forward, firing stun rounds at Kira. The rounds were not deadly, but they were painful. A normal creature would run or fight. Kira did neither. In the time it took to blink, she moved. Her body was a blur of black scales and sharp claws. She caught the first round in her teeth. She dodged the second. Then she leaped. The drone exploded into pieces. Metal scattered across the floor. The whole attack had taken less than 2 seconds. But Kira did not stop there. She landed in front of Yuna, turning to face the soldiers, her body positioned between the human and any possible threat. Her eyes scanned the room. Her muscles were tense. She was ready to fight anyone who moved toward her human. No one moved. Slowly, Yuna reached out and touched Kira's back. "It is okay," she said softly. "They are not enemies. You can relax." Kira did not relax. Not until Yuna stepped forward and showed her that she was safe. Only then did the Vorath lower her guard. Only then did her body become calm again. In the control room, Commander Resk stared at the scene below. His gray face showed something that might have been fear. "What have you created?" he whispered. Yuna looked up at him through the glass. "I did not create anything, Commander. I just loved her." The word hung in the air. Love. Such a simple word. Such a human word. Ambassador Holland entered the control room, his colorful skin pale. "That creature could have killed everyone in this room," he said. "Those soldiers, trained warriors, they would not have been able to stop it." "Her," Yuna said through the speaker. "She, not it." Holland ignored her. "Commander, this is dangerous. The human has turned a Vorath into a weapon." "No," Resk said slowly. He was still watching Kira, who had returned to Yuna's side and was now sitting calmly while the human scratched behind her ears. "Not a weapon. Something else." "What then?" Resk did not answer for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. "A protector. She has created a protector." Word spread across the galaxy. A human had done the impossible. A human had tamed a Vorath. Scientists wanted to study them. Military commanders wanted to copy them. Politicians wanted to use them. Yuna refused them all. "She is not an experiment," she told the endless stream of requests. "She is not a weapon. She is not a tool. She is my family." Some laughed at her. Some called her foolish. Some said she was wasting the greatest discovery in a century. Yuna did not care. At night, she slept with Kira curled around her, the massive predator's body warm and solid in the darkness. She listened to Kira's heartbeat. steady and strong. She felt safe. She felt complete. She had saved a dying creature on a dying world. And in return, that creature had given her something that no one could explain, and no one could take away. They had become a pack of two. And the galaxy was not ready for what that meant. The attack came without warning. One moment, the horizon's edge was traveling through the Vellum corridor, a quiet stretch of space between two star systems. The next moment, alarms were screaming, and the ship was shaking from weapons fire. Yuna was thrown from her bed. Kira was on her feet instantly, her body tense, her eyes scanning the dark room for threats. Taehyun. Yuna called into her communicator. What is happening? Static. Then his voice, broken and scared. Pirates. The Wraith Syndicate. They disabled our engines. They are boarding us, Yuna. They are already inside the ship. The Wraith Syndicate. Every spacer knew that name. They were the worst kind of criminals. They took ships. They took cargo. They took people. Anyone who could not pay ransom was sold or killed. Where are you? Yuna asked. Lower deck, Section 7. I am trapped. There are pirates between me and the main corridors. Stay there. I am coming. She grabbed her emergency pack and ran for the door. Kira followed, her 6 legs making no sound on the metal floor. The corridors were chaos. Crew members ran in every direction. Some were fighting, some were hiding. The ship's lights flickered on and off, damaged by the attack. Smoke filled the air. Yuna moved quickly, staying close to the walls. Kira stayed beside her, matching her pace exactly. The Vorath's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, seeing things that human eyes could not. They heard the pirates before they saw them. Harsh voices, cruel laughter, the sound of weapons charging. Yuna pulled Kira into a side room and pressed against the wall. Through the crack in the door, she saw them pass. 5 aliens in black armor, carrying heavy guns. They were searching room by room, pulling out anyone they found. Please, a voice cried. Please, I have a family. The pirates laughed. There was a sound of hitting, then silence. Yuna felt sick. She felt afraid. But she thought of Taehyun, alone and trapped. And she kept moving. They made it to Section 7. The corridor was dark, the lights completely dead here. Yuna turned on her small flashlight and swept it across the walls. Taehyun, she whispered. Here. His voice came from behind a closed door. Yuna, there are pirates at the end of the hall. They will be back any minute. I know. We need to go now. She opened the door. Taehyun was inside, his arm bleeding from a wound. His face was pale, but he managed a weak smile when he saw her. You came, he said. Of course I came. She helped him stand. He leaned on her shoulder, too weak to walk properly. They turned toward the corridor. The pirates were already there, 3 of them, blocking the only exit. They saw Yuna and Taehyun, and raised their weapons. Well, one of them said. More hostages. The captain will be pleased. Yuna stepped back, pulling Taehyun with her. There was nowhere to run. They were trapped. Then Kira moved. Yuna did not see it happen. No one saw it happen. One moment the Vorath was beside her. The next moment she was between Yuna and the pirates. Her body coiled like a spring. The pirates froze. Their smiles disappeared. They knew what a Vorath was. Everyone knew what one of them started. Kira attacked. She hit the first pirate before he could fire. Her claws tore through his armor like paper. The second pirate managed to shoot, but Kira was already moving, the plasma bolt hitting empty air where she had been a moment before. She landed on him, her weight crushing him to the ground. The third pirate ran. He did not get far. When it was over, Kira stood in the corridor, surrounded by fallen enemies. Her scales were scratched from the plasma fire. Blood dripped from her claws. But she did not look at the bodies. She turned back to Yuna and made a soft sound, checking if her human was safe. Good girl, Yuna whispered, her voice shaking. Good girl. Word spread through the pirate forces. Something was hunting them in the lower decks. Something that could not be stopped. Something that killed without mercy and moved without sound. They tried to fight it. They failed. They tried to trap it. They failed. They tried to run. They failed. Kira moved through the ship like a ghost. She found every pirate who threatened her human's home. She found every enemy who might hurt the people Yuna cared about. She did not attack the crew. She did not attack anyone who was not a threat. She was not a wild animal. She was not a monster. She was a protector. By the time the Union rescue ships arrived, the pirate fleet was running away. 47 raiders were dead aboard the Horizon's Edge. Not a single crew member had been killed. Commander Resk found Yuna in the medical bay. Taehyun was being treated for his wounds. Kira sat beside Yuna, allowing the doctors to clean the burns on her scales, refusing to move from her human's side. "I owe you an apology," Resk said quietly. Yuna looked up at him. "I called that creature a monster. I said it would kill you. I was wrong." He looked at Kira, and for the first time, there was respect in his eyes. "She saved us. All of us." Ambassador Holland appeared in the doorway. His colorful skin was pale, still shaking from the attack. He looked at Kira, then at Yuna. "How?" he asked. "How did you do this?" Taehyun answered from his bed. His voice was weak but clear. "Humans do not raise pets, Ambassador. We raise family." Holun said nothing. He looked at the Vorath, the monster that had become a hero. And for once in his life, he had no clever words. Yuna put her hand on Kira's head. "Thank you," she whispered. Kira made a low sound and pressed closer to her human. Outside the medical bay, the crew of the Horizon's Edge gathered. They had been afraid of the Vorath. They had wanted her gone. Now they stood in silence, looking at the creature who had saved their lives. Someone started clapping, then another, then another. Soon the whole corridor was filled with the sound of applause. Kira did not understand what it meant. But Yuna did. And she smiled through her tears. They were not afraid anymore. 5 years had passed since the pirate attack. The galaxy had changed. Yuna had changed it. The story of the human and her Vorath spread to every corner of known space. People told it in bars and meeting halls, in schools and military bases. They called it the Kira Incident. And it became the most famous example of what humans could do. At first, many species did not believe it. Vorath were monsters. Everyone knew that. They could not be tamed. They could not be taught. They could not love. But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Video recordings showed Kira protecting the crew of the Horizon's Edge. Scientific reports proved that her brain had changed, developed, grown in ways that Vorath brains were not supposed to grow. Witnesses came forward to describe what they had seen with their own eyes. A predator had learned compassion. A monster had become a guardian. And a human had made it happen. Now Yuna stood on the observation deck of a new ship called the Second Horizon. It was bigger than the old vessel, built specifically for a mission that had never been attempted before, the Human Vorath Integration Program. Below the observation deck, there was a large open area filled with soft ground and warm lights. In that area, 6 Vorath cubs played together, tumbling over each other, chasing small toys, making sounds that were almost like laughter. Human caretakers walked among them. They were scientists, teachers, and volunteers who had trained for years to do this work. They had learned from Yuna. They had learned to be patient. They had learned to give love without expecting anything in return. And the cubs were responding. Kira stood beside Yuna, watching the scene below. She was fully grown now, massive and powerful, her black scales gleaming in the light. But her eyes were soft as she watched the young ones of her species playing with humans. "Do you remember when you were that small?" Yuna asked her. Kira made a low rumbling sound. Yuna had learned to understand these sounds over the years. This one meant contentment. Peace. Taehyun joined them at the window. He was not just Yuna's colleague anymore. He was her partner now. In work and in life. He had stood beside her through everything, and he had never stopped believing in what she was trying to do. "The Union Council is watching the broadcast," he said. "Every major species in the galaxy is seeing this." "Good," Una said. "Let them see." Ambassador Holland requested to speak at the next session. He wants to officially apologize. Una smiled slightly. Holland has apologized many times. This time is different. He wants to propose a new law. Protection for human-raised predators. Legal recognition of cross-species bonds. Taehun paused. He called it the Kira Doctrine. Una looked at her Voreth. Kira looked back at her with eyes that held intelligence, loyalty, and something that could only be called love. "She would hate having a law named after her," Una said. "Probably, but it might save lives." Below, one of the cubs had wandered away from the others. It was smaller than the rest, weaker. It sat alone in a corner, watching the humans with uncertain eyes. A young woman approached the cub slowly. She sat down on the ground, not too close, and began to talk softly. Just like Una had done 5 years ago, just like humans had done with scared creatures for thousands of years. The cub watched her, listened, waited. Then, slowly, it moved closer. Una felt tears in her eyes. "Look at that," she whispered. Taehyun put his arm around her. "You started this. Every cub that bonds with a human, every predator that learns to trust, it all goes back to you. It goes back to her." Una touched Kira's head. She was the brave one. She was the one who chose to trust when she had every reason not to. The Union Assembly happened 1 week later. Representatives from 100 species gathered in the Great Hall. Screens showed the broadcast to billions of beings across the galaxy. Ambassador Holland stood at the center platform. His colorful skin was still, calm. He was no longer the arrogant diplomat who had mocked humans years ago. He had learned. He had grown. "I called humans foolish," he said to the assembly. "I called them soft. I said their compassion was a weakness." He paused. "I was wrong. I. The hall was silent. Humans do something that no other species does. They love without limit. They bond with anything. They see a dying creature, and they do not calculate whether it is worth saving. They simply save it." Holland looked directly at the camera. "We thought this was weakness. We did not understand that it was their greatest strength." He raised his hand, and an image appeared on the screens. It was Una and Kira, standing together on the observation deck. This human took a monster and gave it a family. She took a predator and gave it a reason to protect instead of kill. She did not use science. She did not use force. She used love. Holun lowered his hand, and in doing so, she changed the galaxy. The Kira Doctrine passed with unanimous support. Later that night, Una stood on the observation deck one last time. The cubs were sleeping now, curled up with their human caretakers. The ship was quiet. Kira pressed against her side, warm and solid. "We did it," Una said softly. "We actually did it." Kira made a sound that Una knew well. It was the sound she made when she was happy, when she felt safe, when she felt loved. Taehyun joined them, holding 2 cups of warm tea. He gave one to Una and looked out at the stars. "What do you think will happen?" he asked. "In 50 years? 100? Una thought about the cubs below. She thought about the volunteers who had traveled across the galaxy to learn from her. She thought about all the worlds where humans were now working with species that had once been called monsters. "I think we will keep doing what we do," she said. "We will keep finding creatures that are scared and alone. We will keep showing them that they do not have to be afraid. We will keep building families across the stars." She looked at Kira, who looked back at her with ancient, intelligent eyes. "That is what humans do. We do not give up on anyone. Not ever." Far below, a small human child laughed as a Voreth cub licked her face. The sound echoed through the ship, pure and bright. The galaxy had called humans foolish for caring too much. Now the galaxy understood. Caring too much was exactly how humans conquered the stars. Not with weapons, not with wars, with love.